What it is, Cyberpunk, Space and Grease here, and today I want to talk a little bit more in depth about patch 1.6. I mean, look, let's not beat around the bush. We all know that Cyberpunk is a better game for patch 1.6. It has transformed this game. It truly has. So, good job to CDPR. Home run, knocked it out of the park. But, there's always one. We're going to talk about the issues that existed prior to patch 1.6 and the issues that exist because of it. I want to kick it off with achievements, trophies. Now, CDPR has added achievements and or trophies to the game of Cyberpunk. Now, I'm speaking strictly from PlayStation. It could be different on Xbox or PC. You guys and gals will have to let me know in the comments. But on PlayStation, these achievements or trophies are not retroactive. Meaning, if you have accomplished any of these trophies or achievements prior to patch 1.6, they do not count. Now, obviously, that's a problem. Especially if you're in a situation like I am, where I have a big, long... You thought I was going to say something else, didn't you? Yeah, get your mind out of the gutter. I mean, I have that as well, but I'm talking about a big, long playthrough. What you're seeing here now is footage on my 170-hour playthrough on Cyberpunk 2077. This is my first playthrough with my Corpo Male V. And the issue here is all of my achievements have not counted. Nothing is retroactive as far as trophies go. Now, look, here's the deal. I can completely understand that as far as like small details. Let me give an example. Kill an enemy that has thrown a grenade at you. How is the game going to determine whether you've accomplished that or not? I just don't see how that's possible. However, on the flip side of that coin are the bigger achievements. For example, like clearing a zone or doing all the jobs or gigs for a fixer. Those are pretty obvious. I mean, you can look at the map and determine, oh, everything in this zone is completely done and gone. Why then can the game or the engine not determine that, hey, that's done, and reward that achievement? So that really does kind of bug me. I'm certainly going to keep this 170-hour playthrough for future events. For example, if CDPR adds anything new to the game, I'm ready to go. Anytime. This Male V is ready to rock, even when Phantom Liberty comes out. It'll be ready to go. However, for me personally, it's not that big of a deal because I plan to do another playthrough anyway with a female V with a different background other than, Corpus. Go with the Street Kid or Nomad. I don't know which one I'll go with. But I kind of wanted to see the differences in the gameplay with two completely different characters. So again, not the end of the world. I can get those achievements done on that playthrough. But it is a bummer knowing I'll never get those accomplishments on my 170-hour male Corpo V. That sucks. It's a bummer. It really and truly is. But it is what it is. I mean, you kind of have to keep moving, right? So the next thing I want to talk about is romance. Now, if you didn't know, prior to patch 1.6, the romance really at about that 40-hour mark, again, depending on how you played the game. If you did more exploration, you didn't pay attention to the missions, you didn't do the starter missions, you didn't meet these characters and start doing missions for them, then obviously it would be different for you. But on average, around that 40-hour mark, most players are going to interact with these kind of romance options and kind of choose from that point going forward. The problem is, prior to patch 1.6, once V hooks up with, romance option, that's it. It's over. It ends. I mean, obviously there's some stuff in the end, the credits and stuff like that, but that's it. It ends. There's nothing in the middle. You have a beginning as far as kind of romance, dialogue, interactions go, and you have some at the end. There's nothing in the middle prior to patch 1.6, which obviously that sucked. CDPR has tried to fix that, and I think it's the best that we can really expect from CDPR. Wow, that came off really shitty. I don't mean that in a negative way. What I'm trying to say is, if Cyberpunk had launched successfully, the game would probably a year later still be at that $30 mark. However, it didn't launch successfully, as we know. If it had, I would expect more from CDPR. I really would. However, with the game being at the $5 to $10 price pretty quickly after launch, you factor in all the time that CDPR has been spent fixing this game. Developers still have to get paid. All the little additions, things of that nature. They have tried to fix the romances, but they did it in a very superficial way, and I completely understand that. I do. I mean, you can't expect them to bring in all the voice actors and actresses again, record thousands of lines of dialogue, do all new motion capture again. I'm sure they did some motion capture on this game, didn't they? Somebody will probably have to put it down in the comment section below. But do all of that. You're talking about a serious investment of even more money just to do all that. But let's talk about what CDPR tried to do to improve the romance. The first thing they did was they added texting from your V significant other. So you're going to get a whole wide range of topics on these texts. They're going to talk about getting your opinion. They're going to talk about the miss you stick. There's even the beginning of sexting. Like it's not full-fledged sexting. I'm going to be clear here. There's a picture, but it's not like very revealing. It's kind of provocative, I guess. But it's, look, if you know, you know. It's the beginning of sexting, right? It's not like actual. You know what I mean? You know, I really should start writing a script for this shit, because this would go a lot smoother rather than just doing it from the cuff all the time. Anyway, so I digress. The next thing that CDPR tried to add to the game was they tried to add the option for V to sleep in a bed with their significant other. Now, if you haven't had this, you don't know why it's not working, it's because there's a stipulation. And as far as how you get that to occur is V has to go to their significant other's place. So, in the case of Panam, for example, V would have to go to the Aldecaldo's camp. Obviously, you have to romance Panam. You'd have to go to the Aldecaldo's camp. You would have to go to Panam's tent and sleep in her bed. When V wakes up, Panam will be in bed next to him. That's how it works. Now, it's really superficial. You know, you can't interact with the character. You can't talk to the character. In fact, the character won't even move if you're there. You have to fast travel away, or you have to, wait, skip time. For example, Judy as well. If you want to wake up with Judy, V does, then you have to go to Judy's apartment, and you have to romance Judy, naturally, and then you have to sleep in Judy's bed. Doesn't matter what time, again, anytime, day or night, that will happen. Now, let me be clear. Again, this is very superficial, fam. Again, let me say this. I want to stress this. There's no new interactions here. Again, you can't talk to the character. Nothing like that. Again, I'm not trying to shit on CDPR's work. Again, any of this is appreciated. It really and truly is. It makes sense for the story. Before, it didn't. However, there's still a huge gap, right? There's still a beginning and there's still an end, but the middle is still missing here. Can we potentially expect CDPR to try and correct that with the big DLC Phantom Liberty? And the reason I'm even suggesting this is because we know Phantom Liberty, that big DLC, is going to take place after the beginning of Cyberpunk, but before the end. So to me, that sounds like the perfect kind of middle spot. And that would be perfect if they added some new interactions with V's significant others at the beginning of the DLC and the end. It would make sense if V's going to like a really dangerous area, that V's significant other would be concerned, right? There should be some new interactions, right? Some new dialogue there. The same thing with the end when V gets back, right? V gets back, talks to her significant other. Hey, I'm back, I'm safe, blah, blah, blah. That should be there. That would make perfect sense. And it would add a little bit more to the middle of that kind of lacking of romance right now. Again, can we count on it? I don't know. And I know there's going to be some naysayers out there, but remember, in the DLC Hearts of Stone, CDPR added Geralt's significant other coming to Corvo Blanco, his estate. Whether that was Triss, Yennefer, they added new kind of dialogue and interaction there in Corvo Blanco. So never say never. Again, we can hope that that's what CDPR does to kind of try and rectify and improve it. It doesn't mean it's going to happen, but again, fingers crossed, we can hope that it does, honestly. Now the next thing. Let's talk about stealth. I think overall the stealth system works, but I do have a few issues with the stealth system, plain and simple. First thing I want to talk about is the visual range of enemies. And I don't know why this is so intermittent, because some enemies, and I think in this footage you saw me walk past a guy on the roof and he didn't respond. Other times the enemies just instantly spot you. Other times you walk up behind an enemy, and if you're slightly to the left or the right, they still see you. So it's really weird how the enemy's visual range works in this game. It's not consistent. Sometimes enemies can see out their damn ear holes. Other times enemies can't. And don't get me wrong, I know that the game, they have to stack the deck against players to make it challenging. I get that, I do. But I wish they would make the visual range more consistent, and I wish that they would not make it 180 degrees of visual range. Obviously, that's a little ridiculous. You know what I would really like to see is a implementation of some sort of a day-night system. Now, don't get me wrong. I am not a developer, and I don't know how difficult this is, but I'm guessing that it's pretty damn difficult. And the reason that I'm saying that is because every game that I have tried with kind of a day and a night kind of system, it's always awful every time. And I've never successfully seen a game pull off kind of a day-night system. Like I'm thinking of a game like Destiny 2, right? You stand in the light, you get light modes. You stand in the dark, you get dark modes. Well, that doesn't work all the time. Sometimes you stand in the light and you get dark modes, or vice versa. Warframe, there was a part where you had to stay in the dark, but even if you're looking at yourself like I'm in the dark, but the game doesn't count it as dark. So apparently, this is very difficult to implement. I'm guessing here. Maybe if CDPR did it based upon the time of day, right? If it's 8 p.m., it's nighttime, so enemies are less alert. Their visual range drops. If it's during the day, enemies are more alert. Their visual range is increased. That would make sense then, right? I think that it would, and I think it would be easier to implement if you base it off time versus the environment. But again, just my 2 cents. Anyway, I'm talking about something that I really don't expect CDPR to implement, maybe for another game, but there you go. The next thing I want to point out is enemy body identification. This is off the chain. This is ridiculous. And let me give you a couple. I wish I would have recorded some of the footage, but I'm going to give you a couple of examples. Most of you will probably know. And I know somebody's going to say, well, you should put the bodies in a container. I know. But when you first get to a location, sometimes you can't access a container until after you've taken down some of the enemies, right? Using stealth, obviously. So it's not always an option when you first get to a location to put them in a container. In both of these instances, that was the case. So in the first one, this was when the game really kind of first launched. I go to a location where I have an enemy in an elevated position, so I know I need to take them out first, because the last thing I need is them dogging me from that elevated position. So I climb up there and I take the enemy out. Now, there's no container up there. I can't put them in a container, so I have to try and hide that enemy body in a way that the enemies below can't see. Well, there was a lean-to up there. It had sides and it had a top, but it didn't have a front, which wasn't a problem, I thought, because there were coverings over the handrails, and there was maybe a 1-inch gap between the coverings. And I thought, surely an enemy can't look up at night 2 to 3 stories through a 1-inch crack in the handrail covering all the way back into the lean-to, spot the enemy body, be able to ID who their buddy was, and alert all the other enemies. Surely that can't happen. It did. Immediately. Let me give you another example. I go to a shipping yard. Behind me is nothing but ocean. Fence and then ocean. Again, I can't get to a shipping container. I just get there. I'm standing behind, not a shipping container, a shipping yard. So I'm standing behind a shipping container, though. There's 2 shipping containers side by side. You know how big the shipping containers are. They're like, 10, 12 feet wide, and they're, 20, 30 feet long. And there's 2 settings side by side with maybe a 1 foot, kind of 12-inch gap between the 2. Still nighttime. I take out the first enemy. I can't get to a container, not shipping container, just a regular container. I put them behind the shipping container. So the enemy's body is between me and the shipping containers. So I thought, okay, it's nighttime. Surely an enemy can't walk past the other end of the shipping containers, look down this 12-inch gap at night, spot a piece of shirt or a piece of pant, cloth, fabric, be able to ID who they are, their family, where they live, and alert all the other enemies. Surely they can't do that. Instantly. They did. Yeah. So body identification is off the fucking chain. That needs to be dialed back. Like, give me a break. That is, no, unacceptable. Abso-freaking-lutely not. Come on. That needs to be dialed down, like, incredibly so. It really does. That's ridiculous. I get you're supposed to use containers, but they're not always accessible, and the game needs to take that into account, or at least the developer, I should say, needs to take that into account, CD Projekt Red. The other thing I want to talk about isn't really kind of related to stealth. Let me say right now, the thing is that these kind of things ruin stealth. Those are the deciding factor for me. When I decide to go in, do I go in stealth, or do I go in guns blazing? And when I think about, okay, enemies spotting the bodies like instantly, no matter what I do, if I don't put them in a container, enemies having a full 180 degrees of range, that's when I go fuck it, and I go guns blazing. because it's like I don't want to deal with that right now. I'm not in the mood to deal with that. But then there's other times when I want to go through an area and completely clear it out, take out every enemy, and nobody is ever alerted. Take out every camera, take out every enemy, and do it perfectly. Sometimes I want to challenge myself to that. But when I think about the hurdles that I have, then I start thinking, maybe I shouldn't do. Like, I just fuck it. I'm gonna go in guns blazing, right? The other thing I want to talk about is netrunners. Netrunners, and look, I know CDPR wants netrunners to be the superheroes and they're supervillains of the game. I get it. I do. I really and truly do. But calm the shit down. I mean, netrunners have gone fucking ape. It's not even funny. Most of you probably know what I'm talking about. I'll give you two examples. The first thing I do when I go to a location, I take out the cameras. Like, first, right off the bat, every time, no question. I had containers between me, I had floors between me and a netrunner, and I was in a little shack. The back of the shack was towards the netrunner. So there was nothing but obstacles, floors, walls between me and the netrunner. Didn't matter. The netrunner, no line of sight, was still hacking my character. How exactly does that work? No line of sight, obstacles, floors, walls between me and them, and they're still hacking my character. What? Give you another example. Second one. This was bullshit. I literally had, again, no line of sight, obstacles between us, walls between us, floors between us. I had the netrunner hack their buddy, who then hacked their buddy, who then, I'm not even kidding you, hacked their buddy, who then hacked their buddy to try and get an angle on me and hack me. Of course, they didn't get an angle on me, but they still hacked me. What are you talking about? So calm the shit down with the netrunners. Dial that shit back. Like they have gone complete fucking ape here, right? That needs to be dialed down like ASAP. Like, it's ridiculous at this rate. But anyway, those are some of my complaints. I will tell you right now, CDPR needs to kind of take note of the modding community, because the modding community is fixing a bunch of the stuff that need to be fixed. For example, the Meet Hanako at Embers mission. Please let us untrack that bullshit. I'm tired of seeing it on my screen every time I play Cyberpunk, right? Fix the motorcycles. I think that the cars have been improved, absolutely. I've spent 30 years of my life riding motorcycles. Motocross, sport bikes, cruisers. I've ridden them all, dude. I love them all. But the motorcycles have suffered for the improvements to the cars, right? Motorcycles handle infinitely better than cars. Motorcycles stop infinitely better than cars. Motorcycles accelerate infinitely better than cars. And that does not show in this game. The motorcycles have suffered in every single one of those categories, while the cars have improved. Like, let's fix the motorcycles, for goodness sakes. I mean, anyway, I digress. What else? Again, the modding community has paid attention to the issues with the game. I mean, again, flying cars, that's great that the modding community does that on PC. Again, we're never going to get that on console, unfortunately. We can hope for maybe the next game we'll get, stuff like that. But anyway, I just really hope the CDPR pays attention to the modding community, because those are the things that should be hopefully easy fixes for CDPR. But anyway, let me know what you think about any of this, all of this, or none of this. And until next time, peace out.